we are going to, there is a budgetary provision for SEC. But we said as long as this individual, who in the first place is not qualified to be here, is here, we won't allow them to touch the money of SEC. And that's exactly the situation. If a new person comes in there tomorrow, go and take the budget or the appropriation law. There is provision for SEC. So I think we need to get these issues very, very clearly. And to this extent, I believe that we just like Ali Agu said yesterday, as Nigerians, and of course as representatives of the people, we will take certain decisions that might not go down well with them. But in years to come, they will look back and say they took a decision at the right time. The two of our colleagues that are involved are still in the courts. And we said the law should take its course. So I don't think we have done any.
Just let me come in here, because now you just talked about two of your colleagues. Let's look at the logic there now. If the government says two of your colleagues have their fingers in some of these allegations and they decided not to give the National Assembly its allocation, its budgetary allocation, would that be an okay thing? That's the whole issue here. For the sin of one individual, if you say the person has sinned, you decide to, well, starve the nation of funds or resources to work in that particular agency.
I think, Suleiman, let's not get too personal about this issue. The issue we're talking about is that in the first place, that the individual is not qualified to be in that office. Cognate experience. The laws have been, and this was not the thing that has been said. A number of times we have invited experts to come to you at the studios, and they have enlightened and educated Nigerians on these issues. But all the same, because the issues have been politicized, as a house, we took a decision to say, okay, this was the findings in the course of Honorable Sudi's assignment. And we took that decision and said, these monies should not be touched until the right person is there to touch it. So it is not the same like you're saying that because two of our colleagues were involved. No. This is a matter of qualification. In the first place, two of our colleagues are qualified to be in the House. But because the issues of in the performance of their duty, their credibility has been called to question. We said, okay, step aside and face the law of the land. And they're going in and out of court. And we're not making any attempt to tamper with that. But because we took a decision, meanings were read to it. I think we need to just get these facts very straight. It's about time for Nigerians to have some little confidence, some benefit of doubt for their elected representatives. That's the only way we can make some progress.
All right, Mr. Maka, comment on this, if you will. I mean, in your previous analogy, when you said concerning the doctrine of necessity, it was obeyed, and then the subsequent ones, you choose one, you obey, and then you don't obey the others. But you have people who say, if I take an advice once, I'm not bound to take advice all the time because I took it once, especially when they also say that, after all, these resolutions, they don't have any backing or force of law, as it were, and so to that extent, the doctrine of necessity was even in a different context because it was predicated on the Constitution.
Yeah, let me tell you, I think we need to go and look at, there's a case between El-Rufai and, of course, the National Assembly. It's a Supreme Court judgment. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you to the effect that the judge in that case says resolution of the House are not just mere conclusions. They have the force of law, especially when it has concurrence from both chambers of the House. And why I made analysis to the doctrine of necessity is the fact that why would you have selective implementation of resolutions and bills that come out from the House? If, for instance, some favor you, you say, okay, let it be it, so be it. But if some others don't favor you, okay, you throw them out. What I was saying is you can't build a system, you can't build a structure, you can't build an institution in that sense. So your analysis will not be right if, Chamberlain, you are saying the fact that I gave you advice, it's not about advice. This is about an institution. It's a tripod, three arms of government working in synergy. And at the end of the day, someone makes law, the other interprets the law, the other executes the law. So it's a tripod. And until and unless we learn to respect each other's limits, we will not get it very right. So the analysis you're giving, it cannot add up in this situation, in this context that I've said. I brought the doctrine of necessity to say that why would they at that time, or the beneficiaries of that resolution, say, okay, it does not have the force of law? So I just want us to refresh in our memory back that the National Assembly is an institution that represents the interests of Nigerians, and particularly the House of Representatives. We have three functions that we perform: oversight, lawmaking, and representation. That's exactly what we've been doing since we came up in the 7th Assembly.
Would you say now that all the resolutions that come out of the National Assembly must be followed by the executive? You've used the word obeyed.
Yeah, you see, if it's bordered on implementation, because most of the times when resolutions come, we take on resolutions and say, okay, X issue has been brought to us. Remember that at some point, we took a resolution, especially on the security situation of this country, and we invited Mr. President then. A lot of meetings were read to it. We are summoning Mr. President. We said that was an invitation. Mr. President is the Chief Security Officer of this country. All of us are under the ambit of the President that we voted for. If today bombs are going, they are being detonated, and tomorrow another one comes, some other issues, we said as elected representatives, if we sit down and look, we might just at best be consumed, including every other person in this issue. Let's invite Mr. President to make explanation to us. Let's hear him out. Perhaps he has some frustrations that we can be able to add up to. Or he has some inadequacies in terms of funding that we can say, okay, Mr. President, bring a supplementary budget. Let's approve this so that it will make the job easier. Don't forget, security of lives and property is first responsibility of government, for instance. So I want to let you know that every step and intention that we take or resolution that we pass in the House are well intended.
Okay, now that is assuming without considering that these resolutions are sometimes not subject to manipulation. Are you saying that at no point in time can resolutions emanating from the National Assembly be manipulative or sometimes intended to maybe achieve some vendetta?
No. I tell you that the National Assembly has a very open policy in terms of voting. If I, Representative Zachary Mohammed, representing my constituency, Bayotin Kaya, my federal constituency of Kwara State, go to the House with a motion, for instance, if I take the motion to the House, I would have to lobby my colleagues. Let them see reasons why that motion should stay true. Some will agree, some will not agree. But when we come to the debates on the floor of the House, for motions, those speaking for will take the stage. After that, those speaking against will be given the floor. Then, of course, the votes will come, but the presiding officer will call for votes. And the question will be put. If the agreement goes in the affirmative, it means that the motion has sailed through. If it's in the negative, it's been thrown out. But for bills, those speaking against and for will go in tow. I can speak against, the next person will speak for, and that's the rule. So it's so transparent in such a way that there's no room for manipulation, as you're saying, because even the presiding officer cannot manipulate. So that is very clear. The business of lawmaking is very, very transparent.
Well, talking about transparency, one other area the House scored itself very high yesterday was in the area of the fight against corruption. When we try to marry that with some of the issues that have been raised concerning some members in the House, would you still say that that was a good mark for the House?
Yeah, I think the issue that comes to mind quickly will be the issue of the investigation into the fuel subsidy regime. And of course, as a House, the 7th Assembly, we have handled that matter as professionally as we could. On a Sunday, we called ourselves back to come and decide or sit on the